How is everyone? It's funny to talk like this. I'm really just greeting an audience for those who are willing to listen. So healing, how do we heal? How do we do this? So healing individually restores us to a degree as we align our inner rhythms. So healing with another deepens that restoration a little bit more because we're increasing or amplifying a coherent resonance between our hearts and brains, right? The heart connection, right? But collective healing, as a race, healing as a species, that's far more complicated. It's such a frontier. It really is and always will be the frontier. Because each person is their own tapestry of history, nuances, increments, and unique journeys. And so the pace of healing really varies, and it starts with them. So the process of evolving to become is not uniform, nor do we all become the same. And this is sometimes difficult to acknowledge and accept. Not everyone is actually pursuing the same path or values the same way. So collective healing is vital despite this divergence and variation. Coherent rhythms, in our hearts, it has to emerge because we're interconnected, and it's something that is deeply part of the fabric of our reality. I mean, the very physics of the universe is connected. Everything is connected to something else, bound by energy, frequency, and vibration. And this is something that we really have to think about deeply, that each person's electromagnetic field is in constant flux. Some fields pulse with coherence and others less so. That's simply just how it is. As I mentioned in a previous reflection, certain foods we eat have a certain effect. Certain music we listen to has a certain effect. Certain things we say has a certain impact. There are outcomes and consequences. There are things that produce certain results, and it's something we have to really consider. So to heal collectively, we must strive for coherence. We have to embrace a kind of scientific commons, a set of tools and practices from which we can actually synchronize our heart and brain. This attempt to make the electromagnetic field in the heart more coherent, impacting our brainwave patterns to a more coherent state, or alpha waves, about 8 to 12 hertz. This is something that's common to all of us, despite our particular culture, despite our particular philosophy, our spiritual practice, our religious doctrines, and so forth. So once we understand this, we then can choose which philosophy reflects that in that scientific commons, that heart-brain truth. And so we have that foundation, and then we layer our subjective understanding based upon it. So when we begin living this process of evolution toward becoming more coherent, we will blend our personal tools with this universal truth. So we ensure that our subjective understanding complements this scientific commons of coherent living. Coherent living, or process meditation, you could say, is an approach that weaves together many tools, countless ways of relating, an endless form of sharing, but it remains firmly rooted in what objectively produces that coherence. So in essence, some elements of this process are non-negotiable, just as some processes of the body that must occur are non-negotiable. Just as for the fabric of reality to exist, subatomic to atomic to molecular particles have to interact, and it's non-negotiable. So we remain flexible, but also we remain rooted in what works as we shape our individual paths.